And welcome to this week's edition of the Mike Prince Show. Of course, I'm your host, Dr. Mike Prince. We have a very interesting topic and an interesting visitor today that has joined us. He's laughing already. He is an exceptional young man. He's a student at Prairie View A&M University. He serves as a studio engineer for KPVU and other things that he's doing on campus. We'll let him get into that a little bit later. But I'd like to introduce to some and present to others Mr. Andre Davis. Davis, how you doing today, sir?
How you doing, Mr. Prince?
All right, I'm doing great, man. So give your introduction and your bio before we get off into today's show.
Absolutely. I am a classified junior mass communication major, minor in sociology. As you mentioned before, I do the broadcast engineer for KPVU, also a journalist, sports writer, just anything dealing with mass comm, from radio to writing, videography, editing, just anything. You know, I'm just happy to be here.
You're happy to be here?
Absolutely.
What led you to this field of study?
Oh man, that's a great question. You know, honestly, when I first got to Prairie View, I had no idea that I was going to be doing this right here. You know, when I first got to Prairie View, my mind was set on football. You know, playing football. I was going to try out for the football team. It didn't quite work out the way I had wanted to, but God allowed me to turn my direction, you know, elsewhere. He said, okay, I know you're passionate about football. You're passionate about sports, period. So I'm going to give you an avenue to where, okay, you can be able to do anything related to sports that you want to because you're passionate about sports. You can write about sports, you can talk about sports, you can edit anything dealing with sports. Since sports is your passion, this is what God said, this is what I'm going to bless you with. So God blessed me the ability to be able to do this, so I'm forever thankful for that.
Well, you got to take advantage of opportunities, and it's funny that you would mention God. A lot of people pray to God, and they think God is a fairy godmother or good wish fairy. And whenever you pray to God for a situation to change in your life, He's going to send you an opportunity.
Right.
He's going to present you with an opportunity. He's going to put people in your life that it's up to you to be in tune to what thus says the Lord, to take advantage of every opportunity. And we're glad that we have crossed paths here.
Absolutely.
At the Open Mic Broadcast Network. I too am a product of Prairie View A&M University, which I think is one of the finest institutions throughout the world, not
Absolutely.
just Texas or the States, but throughout the world. I cut my teeth on the mic for the first time here in Texas of August 1988, and I know you probably were not even thought of then. You were somewhere in heaven, or an atom just floating around somewhere. But nonetheless, it's something that never gets old to me. It's something that I take great pride in, and I have a simple motto that I've developed over years, and that is love what you do, simplify what you do, and master what you do. And when you do that, it's never a day of work. It's always going to be a labor of love. And with that being said, we're going to go into today's show, a very interesting show, as we do here at the Mike Prince Show. We try to talk on topics that are of relevance, things that are substance. Of course, with our weekly sports report, we cover sports, but not from a professional level, from a collegiate and high school, local and regional level, because you got so many other networks that are doing that enough that we don't have to try and regurgitate what's already all over the deal. So we take and find our niche, and we simplify and make it do what it do.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, we want to go into a topic I know that has been of great interest to you, and with all that being said, we're going to open up with a little professional basketball. I've said all that spiel, but you made an interest. NBA basketball season just started.
Absolutely.
You had Golden State and San Antonio play. I think San Antonio ends up winning 129 to 100.
Yes.
What in particular struck your interest about that?
Man, that first off, I say that beat down that the Warriors took at the hands of the Spurs. You know, I'm not going to even say that I expected the Warriors to win that game. I'm not going to say that, and here's why. It's because, you know, naturally the Warriors are the more talented team, you know, across the board, but we just saw a case here where talent doesn't always win you the game. You know that old saying, Mr. Prince, hard work beats out talent.
When talent don't work hard.
When talent don't work hard. Mm-hmm. Well, that's exactly what we saw here. We saw the Warriors get outworked, and they got outplayed in that game.
So are you saying that they didn't work hard?
It's not the fact that they didn't work hard. They just got outworked in that game by a team that's not a pushover team, that is the San Antonio Spurs.
Well, if you're asking me, not that you didn't, but this is my show, so I'm going to make my little 2 cent note anyway at this point.
Right.
I've always felt that San Antonio was the best, quote unquote, team to begin with. The best team in the league. Why? Because they did it with what I call blue collar guys who just put in the work, unselfish. The coach has a system. He get guys to fit the system. Might not be the most sought after name, but he gets the guys that are the right pieces to put in place. So when it's that next man up mentality, and that's what you need to be successful for a team. They're unselfish when it comes to passing the ball. They're unselfish when it comes to defense. It takes more effort and energy to play defense than it does offense. And you and I have talked off the record. I'm not a big fan of the NBA basketball style because it is a bunch of selfish individuals who are all about getting their points, building their stats, and getting their endorsements. And the pure team concept, I've always felt that connected. I don't have a favorite NBA team, but if I were to say who I felt has been the best consistent team for the past 10, 15 years, it would have to be the San Antonio Spurs.
You know, and it's funny that you mentioned that that next man up concept. In that game against Golden State, we kind of, me personally, as I was watching the game, I kind of saw the great Tony Parker kind of pass that torch, you know, to Kawhi Leonard. You know, a very young, very talented athlete in the NBA. You know, Tony Parker, he only put up 9 points in that game against the Warriors, but you know, Kawhi Leonard, you know, he put up 36 points in that game against the Warriors. So we kind of saw, you know, a more veteran player of the game kind of pass the torch. You know, it was actually more willing to, you know, pass the torch to this young guy, this young athlete, this two-time defensive player of the year, you know, kind of pass that torch and, you know, kind of take over the game, and that's what he did.
Well, you know, with that being said, you still can't count out Golden State as well.
Oh, no.
When you have a plethora of talent that they have, you'll find out really what they are mid-season when they did. And that's another thing. The NBA season is way too long.
Oh, it's a long season.
And
it's a long season.
You know, and I'm exaggerating here a little bit. You got 20 teams in the league, and 18 of them make the playoffs.
Right.
You know, and then you're playing best of 7 series in the scrappy, who cares, second round of the playoffs. You know, man, get 2 out of 3 to let the better team win, and really you shouldn't even be there. You should take the top 4.
Absolutely.
You know, and go from there. And then, but it's all about that money. You got to make that money. You got to make that paper, and it keeps everybody interested in the game. But I think it's too much.
Yeah, I know what you mean. You know, and like you say, you know, you definitely can't count out a team like Golden State with the team that they have. You know, in that game, you know, both teams, they shot fairly evenly from the field. I believe the Spurs were 48% from the field, and I believe Golden State were 46% from the field. Now the difference was 3-point field goals. You know, between Durant, Curry, and Thompson, they put up 33 3-pointers in that game. Now, out of 33 3-pointers, they only made 7 of them. So they're only shooting 21% from the field goal.
That's terrible lead for junior varsity.
That is terrible. That is terrible shooting.
That is terrible. We're listening to the Mike Prince Show. Of course, I'm Dr. Mike Prince. I have with me today Mr. Andre Davis. We're actually doing a pre-recorded show today. We normally do this show live on Thursdays from 7 to 8 p.m. at the bowling alley on the campus of Prairie View. We're still on the campus of Prairie View today in the MSC building. It seems eerie quiet, but I guess that's always a good thing. That means that the kids are in class right now.
The kids are being productive.
Why aren't you in class? No, I'm just.
Are you trying to play me?
I'm just messing with you. And making mention. The reason I'm making mention that we're on the campus of Prairie View A&M University. It is still in the peak of collegiate football season. The Panthers came off a loss this past weekend against the Rice Owls, losing by the score of 65-44 at Rice's homecoming. The Panthers will be getting ready to take on Jackson State Tigers this coming weekend, and it too will be another homecoming event, Jackson State's homecoming, as they get ready to take on the Panthers. Now, the ironic twist about what's going on now with Prairie View is that even though they've lost to Grambling and they got somewhat of a little hill to climb to try to catapult back in front of Grambling, they are still in the playoff hunt. Last year, if you're familiar, the Panthers went 9-2 or 8-2, depending on who you ask.
Right.
Now, they played 11 games, but only one of those games did not count. They played a school by the name of University of Faith. And when you hear the University of Faith, you're like, never heard of it, because most people had never heard of it.
Right.
It was an online college.
Right.
Okay, and with this online college based out of Florida, and with that being said, they had 45-year-old, 35-year-old men that's trying to relive their glory days to play some college football. Now, at the time that the contract was signed, it was sanctioned as a regular, meaningful game, but then the NCAA sent down a last-minute deal where they couldn't back out of the contract, so they had to honor the game. So they played the game, but the game didn't count. So according to the NCAA, that game never happened.
It never happened, right.
Now, Prairie View had a very strong year last year, and a lot of people bellyached that Prairie View did not make the playoffs last year. Well, if you take away that University of Faith game, I believe Prairie View makes the playoffs, because it was all based upon strength of schedule. As a result, moving forward to 2016, the Panthers are now sitting 4-1 conference, but overall they're 4-3. Those two losses that they've experienced outside of conference play has been to a top 10 ranked Texas A&M team. They lost 67-0. Had an opportunity to score early in that game, didn't capitalize, or had a blocked field goal, a missed field goal, and just didn't execute when they got, I say, at the red zone neighborhood around the 25-30 yard line. They just couldn't push any further. Then you play Rice. Even though Rice was 0-6 at the beginning of the meeting of these two teams, they're still an FBS opponent.
Absolutely.
And they fared quite well against this team. If Prairie View can win out the rest of the games, they got a tall task starting this week with Jackson State. Then they'll be at home for 2 games to take on Alcorn, and then another big game that's lurking is the Southern Jaguars, and they'll close out in Arkansas against Pine Bluff. Golden Lions. I almost said Golden State. Now, with all that being said, this is still a good team.
Absolutely.
That can make the playoffs.
Absolutely. You know, I feel like this year our Panthers, they haven't been playing quite like people have anticipated them to play in terms of precisely executing games. You know, I feel like the problem that they've had this year, well, one of the problems is that either starting off too slow or not playing a complete game. You know, 3 games this year that I want to point out, and I feel like you already know where I'm about to go with this. TSU, Grambling, and Alabama State. The TSU game, minus the long delay that we had.
It's a 7-hour broadcast. I've been broadcasting for almost 30 years, and I don't think I've ever been a part of a 7-hour broadcast.
A 7-hour broadcast.
I'm still taking naps from that game.
Yes, you're right, a 7-hour broadcast. So when we played TSU, we started off slow. TSU got up on us early in the game, and it seemed like we didn't wake up to the second half, and we ended up barely beating TSU. And then you fast forward to Grambling. Started the game off excellent, 16-0, in the first quarter. Then it was like, did they forget that we had 3 more quarters to play?
Shut out.
I don't know if they went to sleep, they went in the locker room, took a nap, and I don't know what happened, but we didn't show up the last 3 quarters of the game. Then you fast forward to our homecoming against Alabama State. That heart-wrenching game, homecoming game against Alabama State. Another game that we got down early against Alabama State, and we ended up winning in overtime due to a comeback victory against led by redshirt freshman Jalen Morton. But again, I feel like one of their problems was either starting off slow or not playing a complete game. Going back to that Grambling State game, as I mentioned before, start off great, 16-0. We were thinking that, okay, this is going to be different than what it was last year. But did they really think that, okay, just because they got up 16-0, that they were going to let a great team like Grambling, did they think that Grambling just going to roll over and just hand them the victory?
Well, what I'm thinking that people from the outside looking in, when you try to compare this year's team to last year's team, we got quite a few factors that take place. Number one, you don't have an All-American back in the likes of a Jonta Hebert. You don't have a top-notch offensive line that was blocking and open holes for Jonta Hebert. You have teams now that kind of know what to expect. This was Coach Simmons' first year on the scene as a head coach. Yeah, they've done some Willie Simmons offensive coordinator led offenses with Alcorn, but this was the first time he was really calling all the shots as far as putting the pieces together and how he wanted them to go in which direction. So now that the people have had a year to get caught up, what seems like a piece of cakewalk in the past, now you gotta get on the grind a little bit more.
Right.
And really, in all fairness, you gotta be pleased with how the team has responded. The defense has improved tremendously.
Definitely.
You had 10 starters returning, and then you got the addition of a Terrence Singleton, who is not an undergrad, but a grad student who transferred from Baylor, who has came and made a heck of an impact on this team. You have a Travion Billings, who is a transfer student, who's made a heck of an impact on this team. And you got guys that are fitting the piece. And yes, the teams are flowing and doing what they're doing, and they might not be as explosive as they were on the offensive side, but with the improvement from the defense, I would honestly say that this team on a grade level, I would give last year's team an A-. I would give this year's team a B+.
Absolutely.
Okay, because of what I know, being in the trenches of what I've seen and how these guys are operating, and the concept has been a sure buy-in. Guys are buying into this thing, and they're flowing. So all is not lost for PV Nation. If I had to be honest with myself, it would be some really great things to happen for us to possibly win the West. Being at the fact, let's be honest, Grambling is getting stronger by the week.
Don't see no signs of slowing down.
No signs of slowing down. The only game that legitimately gives me a concern that they could lose would be the Bayou Classic against Southern the last week of the season.
Absolutely.
Southern, we have yet to play. If we could beat Southern, Okay, the way the scenario is setting up now, we lost by 20 points to Grambling, 36-16. So it means we would have to beat Southern by 21 points. Hope that Southern could turn around and beat Grambling. Okay, and then it brings, if Southern can beat Grambling by at least 4 points, then we could win the West.
Right.
That's how complicated things have gotten when you don't win the game in front of you. So first things first, it starts this week with Jackson State. Go there and take care of business with Jackson State. Come back, regroup, focus on Alcorn. But it's going to start this Saturday at 2 p.m. And did I make mention that they can listen to that game live?
No, you didn't. You didn't.
They can listen at KPVU 91.3 FM, where yours truly serves as the play-by-play. And then this young man who I'm with today, been blessed with today, he's the studio engineer. And of course, you can go to pvpanthers.com and click on the stream button and listen live. The 1:30 is the pregame show, and we try to fumble around and do what we can, be as informative as we can, and try to bring people up to par and up to speed on Prairie View athletics. So the Panthers are not dead men walking.
No.
They still got a lot of football left to play, and I'm really thinking that if the PV Nation powers that be get together, rally around the wagon, and start striking the plate now. Playoffs. There's no reason why these guys can't get together in November and play some FCS playoff football.
And you know that's true. And like you mentioned, they're not dead men walking, but the way they've played leading up to this point, they don't control their own. I personally, I don't think that they are controlling their own destiny.
They are really. They are, because they control their destiny by continuing to win. If you win, you're controlling your destiny.
Even if we still need other teams to win.
If you win out, worst case scenario, you're 8-3 overall. You're, more importantly, 8-1 in conference. That is a respectable league, or a respectable year. That's an honorable year. You got FBS teams that are making bowl games, the Who Cares Bowl, and all they got to do is get 6 wins. Okay, so an 8-win season is a tremendous success. So there's still a lot of football to play. There's still a lot of pride left on the table that they need to finish strong. And it starts with just 1 week at a time, one play at a time. So all is not lost. Now, I was being honest and candid that winning the West is probably a little bit more difficult than actually making the playoffs.
Right.
So let's just keep it, as you all like to say, 100. Let's keep it 100.
Right.
Prairie View can be playing in the playoffs if they take care of business.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. You listen to the Mike Prince Show. I'm your host, Dr. Mike Prince. Our special guest today is Mr. Andre Davis. Andre, where are you from? Dallas and all in that DeSoto type area?
Why'd you drag to Dallas like you were just depressed to say that right now?
It does hurt to say it sometimes.
Dallas, Texas. And I say that with pride.
Well, and you should, because that's your hometown.
And I say that with pride.
That's your hometown. Just like I'm proud to say that I am from St. Louis, Missouri, but I now reside in Prairie View. So I'm proud of both of those. But I don't have to like to say Dallas.
No, I mean, no, you don't have to. I mean, I don't have to like to say. I don't know what's out there in St. Louis. I've never been before. But I'm not going to say there's nothing out there.
I've been to Dallas.
So I'm not going to say y'all got tumbleweed going across the road.
No tumbleweed.
Like I'm not going to say that.
Okay. It might be some tumble, and it might even be some weed, but they're not going to be together. That's for sure. Now, I want us to spend a little time here. I don't know how much time we got, but we got enough time to get into this. You and I are in a different generation.
Right.
We're drawn together by the fact of Prairie View A&M University. You and I kind of touch bases on this a little bit, but I want us to kind of dig a little bit and find out where you are. The question that I have is, has the Pride left Prairie View and or HBCUs as a whole compared from then and now?
One word, yes.
Yes?
Pride has, okay, well, I will say, I honestly feel like the pride is leaving.
Explain that, please.
Now I had an internship this past summer working with the athletic department. Essentially, what we had to do is make phone calls to fans and customers who have bought the season ticket packages and things of that nature. Essentially, most of the people that I called were alumni, people that graduated from Prairie View.
Usually, that's what alumni means. I'm just saying, you just.
I contradicted myself. I did just now. My bad.
Sarcasm works in radio. Carry on, man. Carry on.
So I can, now while I'm on the phone with them and I'm talking to them, I can hear the passion in their voice and the pride in their voice that they have for their school. And that's just one example that I feel that, the way it was back then when you guys went to school, and of course I wasn't here, when y'all came to school, but just when y'all come back to the school, during football games or just in case, or if y'all just want to make occasional visits to the school, the way when y'all come back to the school, just the way y'all interact with each other, just the level of passion that y'all have for the school. But I feel like now that it's not there, at least not the way it was back then. Another example I'll give you. Of course, during the, as you mentioned before, I'm the broadcast engineer, and during home games, our Panther Vision records the game, our home games for football, basketball, and baseball, and things of that nature. So I'm in the studio one day, and I'm watching our Lady Panthers basketball team play. I can't remember who they were playing, but they were playing a home game in the Baby Dome. So so there's two computers in the studio, one that lets me do the PS announcements and another computer that just lets me watch the games if there's a home game. So the camera, I'm watching the game and the camera is panning around the stadium, and there's nobody in the seats. I'm telling you, literally nobody in the seats. This is a home game. Our Lady Panthers are playing and there's nobody at the game. I've never seen nothing like it before, and I haven't been to all of the basketball arenas, but I would, as far as just in the swag, but I would say that we have one of the nicest basketball arenas, in the swag, and I know you can speak on if we have the best or not, because I know you've been.
It's not the best, so but it's not the worst.
It's not the worst. Right. It's a really nice, for a swag, just collegiate period, a nice basketball arena, and nobody's in there.
Well, I can summarize between then and now. You got to remember the makeup. Prairie View is considered a rural institution.
Right.
So therefore, everything that has been designed on this campus has been designed to keep people on campus. When we were in school here, there was no new 290. Mm-hmm. There was an old 290. There used to be the young Onco or the new Onco and the old Onco. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you went and got your beverages at either the old Onco or the new Onco, and to go to Houston was a chore. Now with the advent and the advancement of transportation and technology, you guys are too preoccupied. You got people, it's a wonder that they don't collide with each other, because everybody's walking with their heads down in their phones. Everybody's in their own world. They got their beats on. They listening to their own genre of music. Everybody's got a talk show. Everybody's doing whatever they're doing. So you all are too busy to even embrace. Here's another thing. unprecedented, even when Prairie View had lost the 80 games in a row for football. And that's all ESPN wanted to talk about. That's all the nation wanted to talk about. When you pan the cameras, the stadium was packed because it was a social gathering. We didn't have Twitter. We didn't have Facebook. We didn't have all that. We had each other, and we relied, and was good to see each other. You would see your Greek organizations. You would see your non-Greek organizations. You'd see your sports. You'd see all your plethora of people coming together. But now everybody has individualized themselves that they have no time. You talk about everybody's so busy. You all got 4,000 free tickets to the new stadium for home games. Every student gets 4,000, and you have until a certain point where you
can pick up your
tickets absolutely free. Did I tell you they were free?
They're free.
Okay, and if you don't pick up your tickets and they take it and sell those tickets, then you all want to come and beat the doors down because you didn't come and get the tickets. They say, come get your tickets free, no charge. Come from Monday to Wednesday, get your tickets. Thursday, the tickets going to sell to the public. Then y'all want to raise Cain. Well, I paid for this. Well, if you paid for it, take advantage of it.
Well, I can't speak on that because when I'm at the game, I'm always working. But I understand what you mean in terms of how preoccupied we are in today's society in terms of our cell phones, the electronics. I know me personally, I have a cell phone, I have a PS4, so I have the electronics that keeps me occupied, but I find a balance. I still find, and all the other stuff that I do as well, I still find a balance to do what I do with this right here and still support my school.
Okay, now, one thing that I see that this generation struggles with, and that's accountability. You guys have representation called the SGA that is in perfect harmony with the powers that be that make all the decisions, and it is part their responsibility to make sure that the students stay engaged. And then you guys are electing these people, and they need to make sure that you all stay engaged and abreast of what's going on. If you all can go protest and get caught up in Waller County political affairs, you ought to be able to get caught up in your own affairs that constitute and make up this university. Now that's just this one man's opinion. That's why it's called the Mike Prince Show.
Absolutely.
And no one has to be upset about it, but I'm just speaking from my experience. I serve on the school board for Waller Independent School District. I've been elected 3 terms. Each term is a 3-year deal. There's a school being built right down the road that I fought to make sure that it was built in Prairie View, Texas. Now, even though I'm involved in the political structure in the RAM, I don't consider myself a political guy. You understand? But I do consider myself a man of reason and a man of responsibility, not only to Waller County, not only to the city of Prairie View, but to the University of Prairie View, to my family, and to the students of this institution. But sometimes it seems like you all don't care enough about yourselves.
And it's crazy that you mentioned that, and also along with mentioning SGA, I actually was a member of SGA for a small period of time when I realized that it wasn't for me, and I didn't think about it then, but now that we're here on this show talking about it, it really has sparked some interest right now. I remember being in the meetings, and honestly, all the meetings was coming up with a plan of how we can change certain things that we don't like about the school. If you don't like the times in the MS, as far as when the dining hall is open in the MSC, I believe you write a letter or you do something to basically try to get that changed. But we never once did we really try to talk about how we can get the students more involved as far as really supporting our school, really trying to keep that.
Just to have the pride. I'm going to ask you, now you say you're a junior, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you know the words to the school song?
No, I did not.
Okay. Do you know the words to the fight song?
No, I did not.
That's where pride begins right there. How can you walk around with PV gear across your chest and you holler PV, and you don't even know your school song?
That's true. That's true.
I mean, where's the pride in that? You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Whose fault is that?
That's me.
That's
me.
So that's what going back to that accountability.
Right.
You got what I'm saying? If it's something that's near and dear to you, if no one else cares, no one else seems to want to put a dime's worth of anything in it, you should. It says, "Am I my brother's keeper?" Okay, if you're your brother's keeper, where does charity begin? It begins at home. You talking about pride. When the end of any sporting event, you just start paying attention when you're not in the studio. Any sporting event, people are walking around while the school song is being played. If you say you love your school, if you can stand still at the national anthem that people are protesting, you ought to be able to stand still for your alma mater being played or for your school song being played.
No.
That's just to know. Maybe I'm an old man fussing.
No, you're not an old man fussing, and that's one thing that I can say that I have done. And I've gone to any sporting event. I may not know the song, but you'll see me with my arm pointing. I'm pointing towards the hill. I'm doing all that, the dun dun dun. Now I don't know the words, and that's still on me with the pride and everything like that. But I'm definitely showing respect to my school and my alma mater. That's one thing I can say that I do when I do go to any of the sport events.
Okay, and with that being said, you have a challenge. You have a task right now. The next time I see you, you need to know at least the first verse to each song I just asked you about. The school song and the fight song.
Gotcha.
You understand?
Yes, sir.
Now, and it's going to be the gift that keeps on giving. You then will be charged to pass that on. That's how you build pride. That's how you build tradition. That's how you make changes. Because people don't understand what they're doing. They're just following folks just because they're following. And everybody is being led by the blind. You understand? Well, I don't know why we're doing it, but I'm just going to do it. And just why are we doing this? Just like, and Lord, I ain't going to get too caught on this, but everybody want to sag.
Oh, wow.
I mean, but your premise is, and when I say your, I'm talking to a group, not just you in particular.
Right.
But your premise is, it's my fashion statement. But from the era from which I come from, that fashion statement said that you were somebody else's Miss Thing.
Exactly. Yeah, I know where it came from.
You got what I'm saying? So I can't make you want to change that. You have to want to change that. You have to want to be the one that says enough is enough. I'm not going to do this anymore. And it starts with me. Because one thing about it, the rich stay rich, the poor stay poor. Why? Because it's a vicious cycle that keeps on going on. The rich stay rich because they take their kids and they teach them at a young age, this is the money we have, this is how we obtain the money, and this is how we're going to keep the money. The poor people keep teaching people how to stay poor. Don't report too much, don't do this, or you're cut off this. If the only time that I can bask in the glory is at the return of income tax, something's wrong. My approach is wrong. I need to change my mode of operation. They said the mark of insanity is to do the same thing over and over expecting a different outcome. If I'm not doing something to change that, then how can I take pride in anything else?
Absolutely. We all know a lot of people like that all they look forward to is tax season.
Right.
Throughout the entire year, not doing anything else.
Now understand, I didn't mean to cut you off, but understand,
go ahead.
If you're getting huge refunds, it's one or two things that's going on. And A, you're lying, and then B, you're cheating yourself. Because if you take the necessary procedures and process up front, you're going to keep all your money. So I shouldn't have to be broke for 10 months out the year, get my little old money back and for a month, and then I'm broke in 2 weeks. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So we have to change our approach to everything. Now, it's not just a problem, and let's be fair, it's not just at Prairie View, it's at HBCUs across the country. Because Prairie View, and we're talking about Prairie View because I'm an alumnus of Prairie View, and hopefully you guys are going to be alumnus of Prairie View. But Prairie View has over 60,000 recorded, documented, proud graduates of this fine institution. But only 5,000 of them, less than 10%, only 5,000 of them are on record for giving back annually.
Wow.
That's a problem that begins at home. You understand?
Yes, sir.
That's something you all can change that culture. You all can change that structure, but it's got to start with you. Somebody has to take that leadership approach, that leadership role. I might not know everything there is to know, but I'm going to learn what I can, and I'm going to exercise what I do know, so we can try to get a grip on this situation. We talk about the Black Lives Matter, and yeah, Black Lives Matter until it comes to home. You got what I'm saying? You call each other ends all day long, but let someone who don't look like you call you an end.
You're
ready to start a protest. You're ready to do all this, that, and the other. So at some point, when are we going to step our game up? When are we going to step our game up? We're listening to the Mike Prince Show. I'm your host, Dr. Mike Prince. Got Mr. Andre Davis, and it looks like Mr. Marcus Dotson has just joined in, our production assistant for the broadcast at KPVU 91.3 FM, the Jazz and Heritage NPR member station. So broadcasting this weekend will be Jackson State and Prairie View, taking place from Jackson, Mississippi. It's a 2 p.m. kickoff time. The pregame show will start at 1:30, and be sure to catch all the live play-by-play action with yours truly, Dr. Mike Prince, as we will try to cheer the Panthers on to victory so they can keep their playoff hopes alive. We've gone over a couple of things on today that we think are of relevance, and you might feel like you want us to talk about something. Feel free to send us an email at ombnetwork@gmail.com. You can also follow me on Twitter. I'm at OBN_radio. Instagram, I got an Instagram account too. It's OBN-Radio. I have a Facebook page. It's Open Mic Broadcast Network. That's spelled OPEN, capital MIC. That is all one word. Broadcast Network. Like our Facebook page. Last I checked, I think we had like 520 likes on the Facebook page. We've had over 171,000 listeners to our Open Mic Broadcast Network, which is something I'm extremely proud of.
Absolutely.
We started that movement in 2002 with a simple concept. I'm going to cover what they want. Basically, I'm going to cover what they want.
That's a great thing.
Yes, sir. So we have, of course, our website is OBNRadio.com. We even have a gospel format for you for those that are into the gospel. KTORradio.com. Be sure to subscribe to never miss a show with the Mike Prince Show, the Sports Report, broadcast games of local and high school regional coverage. We cover, of course, the Prairie View A&M University Panthers. We cover the Hempstead Bobcats, the Waller Bulldogs, the Royal Falcons, Somerville Yeahwas. We cover public schools in Jackson, Mississippi, public schools in St. Louis, Missouri. Our motto is have sports, we'll travel. We do whatever we need to do, and we're just mighty glad to be affiliated not only with this university but with the community. I live here in the community, Prairie View. I've chose to make Prairie View my home. Proud that Prairie View is my home. One thing about this place, either you love it or you hate it.
Absolutely.
There is no in between. There is no woulda, coulda, shouldas. It is what it is, and because it is what it is for me, we do what it do. Therefore, it shall be what it shall be. And with that being said, we want to thank you all so much for joining us this week at the Mike Prince Show. Remember, we'll be back to our regular schedule live on next week. We'll be from the bowling alley at 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. We had to go a little pre-recorded today because there's a big volleyball game coming up between Texas Southern and Prairie View. It's going to be a 6:30 start time with that. The Prairie View A&M Lady Panthers are 7-4 on the regular conference season. They're taking on Texas Southern. They're looking for their first win. They dropped the set to Texas Southern back in the early part of the season. They're going to try to regroup and take care of that. As a matter of fact, it's called Pack the House Day at the Hill, or the Baby Dome, the Billy Nix Baby Dome. Hopefully, if they pan the camera tonight, there will be some people in the place. But if not, the game must go on. Anything you want to share before I close out today, man?
Well, I just want to definitely thank you, Mr. Prince, for having me on the show. And I want to point out that this right here is something just tremendous. This network that you have going on right now is something that's very tremendous, and I'm forever grateful that you had me on the show, and I definitely look forward with working with you and everything in the future. So definitely thank you for having me on the show.
Well, thank you. We thought Snacks would have been here a little earlier, but he was in class, and he's one of the astute ones of the group. I guess Andre was slacking today. No, he didn't have any more classes. I'm just, but we'll always get a chance to catch up with Marcus. Marcus has been a very instrumental. Both of these young men have been very instrumental with our broadcast for Prairie View Athletics. Marcus serves as a production assistant. He makes sure that we get the interviews with Coach Simmons for halftime and the post game, and pretty much has been a very strong support for the broadcast, just as Andre, making sure that everything is smooth at the mothership and the studios at KPVU. Our time is up for this week. We want to remind you all that you can make the difference only if you try. So until next week, be blessed, and we'll see you on the other side.